I need 4 volunteers. I'm going to need 4 volunteers. I'm going to need 2 male, and I'm going to need 2 female. And you can't be shy. And if you were here 2 weeks ago, there's no trickery involved in this one. There's no trickery. Okay? All right. And if you were in the game 2 weeks ago, you can't be in the game this week. And we actually have prizes this time. Well, a prize. All right. All right, you. Yeah, come on up. All right. That side of the room I got good. Okay. Let me get you in the blue. Come on up. Come on up. All right, I need 2 girls. That's 2 girls. You sure? All right, you're up. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Kevin, come on up. I know you. You're the only one I know. You. Stand here. Right there. You. Stand over hither, nither. And you. Very wary. And you. Merriweather. There you go. Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good.
For a little bit longer, yeah. Okay. What's your name? Where do you go to school?
My name is William Tackett. I go to Ravenwood High School.
Hey, I got a question for you. Can you dance?
I can dance pretty good.
Decent?
Yeah.
We're about to find out. And your name?
Hi, my name is Beyonce.
Tight. Where do you go to school?
Brentwood Middle.
Brentwood. Nice. Well, if your name's Beyonce, I already know you can dance, girl. All right, moving on. Name?
Samuel.
Where you go?
SBA.
Have you ever danced before at a middle school dance or anything like that?
No.
Okay, good luck. Well, we'll see how this works. Oh, hey, what's up?
Hi. I'm Caroline, and I go to Brentwood Middle.
Brentwood Middle. Have you ever gone to like a middle school dance?
No.
No, that awkward dancing? That's awkward that they don't have any. That's messed up. Okay, here's the deal, y'all. I don't know if you noticed, but when you came in, there was a song playing on the screen, on the video, right? Well, we got a little short clip of that song for about 20 seconds. When that song comes up, all of you have to dance the most awkward dance that you can dance to that song. Okay? And you guys are going to be the judge. Now, appropriate awkward dancing. I got to put that out there. Okay? No grinding or, jumping on the rafters. None of that stuff. Okay? You got this, bro?
I got it.
He's got it. He's got it. All right. Y'all going to need to cheer him on in a second. There's going to be a video to come on. It's just going to be a countdown. It's going to start with a 3-second countdown, and when that's done, your song's going to start. And then you got to give us your awkwardest dance ever to the song. Appropriate awkward dancing. Are you ready?
What does the fox say?
That was the most awkward thing anybody's ever said to me before. All right, guys. On your mark. Get set. Roll the video.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is my friend.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
I have a friend in Jesus.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
Ooh.
Making connections can be awkward sometimes, but maybe we make it a little bit more awkward than it should be. So I want to show you a picture of my youth group. This is back in Coleraine, Northern Ireland, 3 miles off the north coast of Northern Ireland. This is the group that I was youth minister for. You'll see me in the middle. This is whenever I had wretched red hair. Some of you might remember that. Give me a holla if you remember me with wretched red hair. Yeah, good times. So this is my youth group. And I was the youth minister there for a year, but I belonged to that youth group since I was 12 years old, I went to this youth group. I want to introduce you to one of my youth. His name is Gavin Mackay. And some of you will have seen him. He actually came to visit twice in the summer, once at the start and once at the end. His name is Gavin. And I remember when Gavin came to our youth ministry, I was just a college youth leader. And he was like an Energizer bunny. Okay, I don't know if you know what that means, but he just had so much energy. He was so excited all the time. He was so like in your face. He just wanted to talk like a million miles an hour and always had lots of things to say. He was really excited and was just a lot to handle. Here's a couple of pictures of him. Isn't he cute when he's younger? And this right picture kind of describes him pretty well. And he's also kind of like a puppy hanging out of a car. That's just kind of the guy he was. He was like a little puppy dog and kind of still is like a puppy dog. Anyway, I remember when we would go to youth weekends, and we'd go to some youth weekends that were just really fun, and we'd go to some youth weekends where like the real Christians went on our youth weekends. And he came on one of our like real Christian weekends, and he was about 15. And so we were at this retreat center, and we were all hanging out in the common area. And we were mostly hanging about with our cliques, you know, the people that we knew, and we were all kind of talking with the cool kids. And meanwhile, Gavin and his friend Ben were darting, like hurtling over chairs, hiding under tables, crawling around corners of walls, because they were dodging each other's invisible bullets from the invisible army war that they were having with each other on our youth retreat. So we're all there kind of, you know, in our little cool cliques, looking at these guys going, they are so weird. They're so awkward. They're so immature. Why can't they be cool like us? Or maybe we were just like, we thought we were too cool to play with them. But Gavin and his buddy were playing invisible army fights around our retreat. And he wasn't very good at reading people's body language, right? So if I want you to tell me what body language this is, okay? So if I go, hug. Okay, that's a pretty good word to describe that. Good. If I go, like, yeah. Okay, if I go, okay, shocked, scared, something like that. Okay, Gavin wasn't very good at reading body language. So whenever, like, if I was to walk past Gavin and go, which is my, yeah. If I go, yeah. Gavin wasn't very good at reading body language. He wasn't very good at reading people's emotions. So if somebody is frustrating you and they're like getting on your nerves, you probably shoot them a look, right? You probably give them some sort of body language. Can everybody give me your body language for somebody is really on your nerves and really irritating? On 3, 2, 1, shoot me a look. I don't know if he's just bored or if that's actually his expression. We just head in hands. I spotted you, bro. Okay. So if I'd shoot him that look, I'd be like, Gavin will be there, and then I'd do this guy's expression, just like, just wouldn't get it. And so he'd keep talking like he's eating 40 packets of Skittles, and he would just keep going, doing his thing. The problem was, because he didn't read body language very well, like he didn't stop. And so even if you were a little bit mean to him, it seemed like either he didn't realize that you were being mean to him, or he just didn't care about it. So if he doesn't notice you don't care, you're getting away with it, well then you do it a little bit more, right? So we actually got into the habit of treating Gavin kind of mean. In fact, we didn't treat him kind of mean, we treated him really mean. Like this youth group that were on this like real Christian weekend, where had this guy join our youth group. He was too much for them. He wasn't cool like the rest of us. And so we were really rude to him. And we gave him a really hard time. He was kind of the butt of our jokes. And Gavin should never have stuck around at our youth group. He should have left because those people were mean and rude. But Gavin, this is him. He came to visit me at the start of the summer. This is us in Nashville. This is him at my wedding. That is, Gavin stuck around. I don't know why, but somehow God must have been doing something in his life because God made Gavin stick around and not leave. So what was more awkward? Was it more awkward that this guy was running around with his friends playing Invisible Army Wars? Or was it more awkward that this real Christian youth group on their real Christian weekend were being extremely rude and extremely mean to this kid? Which one do you think? Okay, of course it's the second one, right? We think, oh, here's this awkward kid. But kind of like the video, the awkward thing is actually the people who are in the group going, what did I do? How did I talk to him? What, did he fart? Like, they're the awkward people, not the awkward kid. So here's what we normally do. With connections, we normally have connections with people who have something in common with us or who can... like we can gain something from. So I'll have friends that like soccer, or I'll have friends that like music, or I'll have friends that like hanging out at Krispy Kremes like I did yesterday morning. Those are the people I have friends with. Or I might be friends with someone because they're funny, or because they brighten up my day. those normal connections, you connect with people normally because you have something in common or because you have something to gain. And Gavin didn't really fit into that category, and so we were mean to Gavin. I wanted to introduce you to the story in Luke 14. Jesus is at a party with important people, the Pharisees, the religious leaders. He's hanging out with them. And Jesus notices something going on in the room. He notices that the people at this party are really self-important. They know that they're a big deal, and they are very exclusive. They've actually brought in somebody who is medically ill into the group just to make a point to Jesus. They've used this guy who is different. They brought him into the group just to use him to make a point. And so Jesus says to these people, verses 12, 13, and 14, "When you give a luncheon or a dinner or a party, do not invite your friends, your brothers or your sisters, your relatives or your rich neighbors. If you do, they might invite you back, and then you will be repaid. But when you give a banquet or a party, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind, and you will be blessed. Although they cannot repay you, you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous." So Jesus says, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind. Okay, why invite those people? Well, those people are like the outcasts. They're the complete opposite to the people at the party that he's currently at. These are important people who know they're important. Jesus says, you know what, when you have a party, don't be about self-importance and inviting the people who you can get something from. Be about the people who are outside, the people who are forgotten, and the people who have been abandoned. Who are the outcasts, or who are the crippled, the lame, and the poor in our society? Well, they are people who are treated as less than human. For any reason that they are treated as less than human. So tonight I want you to think about, who are the outcasts in your world, in your school, the people that you come into contact with. Who are the outcasts, the people that you or other people have treated somehow less human? It could be people, any number of people, people who are abroad, people here at home. For any variety of reasons, these people could represent something that they are labeled maybe as troubled, or they're weird, or they're awkward. Those people who have very little to offer to us. Who are the outsiders in your world? Who are the people that wouldn't belong at your table or your party? Who are the people that don't belong in your world? So there's this campaign going on in your schools. If you're Williamson County Schools, give me a holla. Okay? There's a campaign going on at your school. What is it? Oh, wow, everyone knows it. Can I hear the boys say it? Be nice. Girls say it? Be nice. Boys say it? Be nice. One guy said it that time. Okay, yeah. Be Nice is this campaign going on in Williamson County Schools. This is a really cool campaign. It started in Fairview High School. They started trying to get everybody to adopt this kind of philosophy, be nice. And apparently it completely transformed their school. And now you all are doing it. Now, the idea behind being nice is that you should not be rude to people, right? You should treat each other with respect. So here's the nice connection. Normal connection is just being connected to the people that have something in common or that you can gain something from. A nice connection, I think, is when you respect all people. Now, what Jesus is saying, I don't think Jesus would just say to me, be nice to Gavin, although that's a really good thing and an awesome thing that your schools are doing. Jesus wouldn't just say, be nice. Jesus said, invite the poor, the lame, the blind, invite the outcasts. That's not just be nice to them. That's not just say hi in the street. That's invite them to your party. That's invite them into your world. So what is it like to be nice to Gavin? It wasn't just to not be rude to him. To be nice to Gavin, I think Jesus would call my youth group to say, make him feel like he belongs. Make this a place where he feels loved. Not just where people are nice to him, which is great, but go beyond that and take it a step further and make them feel like he belongs. So here's what we want to be looking at. The normal connection, something you have in common or something you have to gain from someone. The nice connection is just respecting people and not being rude to them. But the gospel connection that Jesus calls us to is to welcome all people so that they feel that they belong. But when they come into this room and into your small group, that they feel like they belong here, that they know the love of God because of how they are treated. The gospel requires us to connect to all people, even when it's awkward, even when they're different from us, even when they like different things, even when they think differently or act differently. The gospel calls us to welcome to connect and welcome to all people. And tonight in your covenant, you're going to be writing a covenant in your small groups. You're going to be deciding what kind of small group do we want to be and what are we going to do in this small group. I want you to think tonight, when we just looked at this passage in Luke, what would Jesus say about your small group? What would Jesus want your small group to be? How would Jesus want you to connect with other people? I'm going to finish with a real quick exercise. This is my class in connecting. So I want you to practice connecting. Here's your first step when you connect to other people. You should make eye contact with them. So here's what I want you to do. I want you, this is awkward, to look around the room and not just glance past people, but make eye contact with 3 different people for 3 seconds. Okay? Go. 3 different people, 3 seconds. Okay. Step number 2. And while you're doing this, you should be especially thinking about, is there somebody that I don't know that's sitting beside me? Is there someone I don't know that's sitting beside me? Next step, I want you to put on your I want you to see your cheesiest grin, okay? 3, 2, 1, cheesiest grin at me, go. Okay, put it on to practice. I want you to keep your grin on, look around the room and make eye contact with 3 people. Go. Cheesy grin. Cheesy, stretching your face grin. Okay, step number 3. You've made eye contact. You've given them a cheesy grin. I want you to use this very useful sentence. It goes something like this. Hello, my name is... You should say your name. You don't just go, Okay? So everybody, I'm going to tell you my name and I want you to respond and say, nice to meet you, okay? So here we go. Ready? Hello, my name is Nelly. Very good, very good. Okay, I want to know your name, so I want you to, in response would say, nice to meet you, Nelly. My name is, and you'll shout your name, okay? So let's try that from the start, okay? Hello, my name is Nelly. Very good. Okay, that's step number 3. 2 more steps. Step number 4, you could invite them to come to worship in small groups with you. So I wanted to turn to 2 different people around you and invite them to worship in small groups with you. Go. 2 people around you. Okay. Here's step number 5. You ready? This one's actually useful. Here's how I get to know people. I like to think of myself as being pretty good at getting to know people. If you meet somebody new, you have nothing in common, right? You've got nothing. I've made eye contact with Nathan. I've made a cheesy grin. Okay. I've said, hello, my name is Neal. Nelly?
Nice to meet you, Nelly. My name is Nathan.
Okay, where do we go from there, right? What do you do? Here's my tip. Ask questions, okay? You cannot go wrong with asking questions. Nathan, what school do you go to?
I go to Ravenwood.
Ravenwood, cool. Nathan, what kind of thing do you like doing in your spare time?
I like to sit on the couch and watch Netflix.
Sitting on the couch and watching Netflix. What are you watching Netflix?
Supernatural.
Okay. Whenever you're asking questions, 1, you're finding out you might have something in common, but also you're telling that person, I'm interested enough. I'm not worried about this is awkward. I'm more interested in getting to know you. I'm more interested in finding out who you are and then getting to know you and make you feel welcome. I want you to practice these 5 things because you have 2 challenges. Every week we're going to give you an awkward challenge. This week you have 2 challenges. This week I want you to talk to, connect, or befriend someone that you would not normally connect to. Especially maybe someone that's different from you. Okay, that's your first challenge. Second challenge, we want you to invite somebody to next week's worship in small groups who needs grace or doesn't know Jesus. Those are your 2 challenges for next week. I will take questions at the end. Please grab a hand with the people around you. And give me a hush. Connecting to people doesn't have to be awkward. We practice some simple things that can help us meet new people. The gospel is calling all of us in our small groups and in the people that we meet, to connect to all people, even when it's awkward, so that they will know the love of God and Jesus because of how we treated them. Let's pray. God, we thank you for all the hands that are connecting us in this room, that we are connected, and you call us not just to hold hands during prayer, but to treat each other with love and respect. That you call us to show your love to all people, and maybe even especially those who are different from us, who are outcasts. God, give us the strength that we need. Help us to be bold with our challenges so that we can glorify your name and grow closer to you. For we ask it in Jesus' name, and everybody in the room said,
Neal. Awkward. So awkward. All right, people, we need you to get into this. I'm going to need 4 volunteers for an awkward game that we're going to do up here. I don't know if you know this or not, but our series is awkward. I don't know if you caught that, because we've only had it 2 weeks ago. We're going to need 2 volunteers.
Thomas!
Hey.
Get over here, son.
Hey, you're up here. You're a volunteer.
Come on over here.
Let me get 2 guys and 2 girls.
Come on, big fella.
All right, Hartley, you're up.
Hey, here.
Hartley, you're up. Christina, come on. You're good.
You look quite
You're good. Jessica, all right, cool. I need another boy.
Hey, here, big fella. Come on.
Dude in the back. You're cool. You're cool. Love it. Love it.
Yep.
All right, let's get boy, girl, boy, girl. Lindsay, is your hand up?
Oh, watch.
That was awkward. Come on here. Christina, get over here on the edge there. That's good.
Yep. Thomas,
Yeah, you're right there. That's good.
you go in the middle, Thomas.
you can go in the
right
middle.
over here.
Yeah.
You're the most awkward.
Neal,
There we go. Yep.
Neal, tell them what they're doing. What's going on here? How's this going to be awkward?
Well, nothing is more awkward than dancing. I recently danced. It was very awkward. So,
Yes, he did.
on your way in,
True.
there was a awkward song that went, Jesus is my friend. I'm a friend in Jesus. Jesus is my friend.
Okay, everybody sit down. Nobody's going to beat that for awkwardness. You're going to get 20 seconds of a special 20 seconds of that song with a timer on the screen, and you just got to dance the most awkward dance possible. But it does need to be appropriate awkward dancing, please. Thomas, I'm talking to you. Okay? Hardly do the dance. All right, I'm going to step out of the way and let you guys do your thing.
Butts to the backs of the stage. No,
Here we go.
no using the butts.
On your mark.
Keep your butts facing this
Yes.
way.
Appropriate awkward dancing.
I'm
On your mark,
watching your
hit
butt,
that.
Thomas.
Hit that. We got
I'm
a
watching
3-second
it.
countdown.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is my friend.
Jesus is a friend of
I
mine.
have a friend in Jesus.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
I don't know if that's going to work.
Thank you. That was very awkward as we continue in our awkward series of videos. I know that David and crew have an even more awkward video to come next week that you should, 2 weeks, whatever. All right, so I want to start tonight, or my teaching tonight, doing something a little awkward. You should be getting used to this now, and it's going to continue to happen. Stand up. Find 3 people, hug them, tell them that you love them and that you are glad they are here. Preferably someone that you have not talked to yet. We should be getting efficient at this. Shouldn't take more than a minute. All right, make your way back to your seat, please. All right, thank you. Thank you for doing that. It will continue to get more awkward, I promise. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking. Tonight we're going to be talking about awkward connections. And I really believe that if you're around human beings long enough, you're going to have some awkward connections. By the ages that you are now, you have got to have at least some awkward encounters that you have had with another human being, right? That maybe the two of you just, for one reason or another, it was such an awkward meeting, or like the video that we just saw, like there was one person that just didn't fit in, right? One of the most awkward encounters that I've ever had, like awkward connections that I've ever had, was with my father-in-law. And so I've told you some of this story. Some of you have told this story before. But my current wife and I, current, that sounds like I had a previous. I do not. Let's throw that one out there. Or a future. Let me start over. My wife and I had been dating now for about 3 months. Okay, now when my wife and I started dating, there's a little different situation. I just graduated from college. She had just finished her freshman year. So there's a little bit of an age gap there. So I'm sure that her parents had kind of raised an eyebrow or two at me. And I had only met her parents maybe once before. And Carlisle, at the end of this summer, had come down with the swine flu. We all remember the swine flu? And this is, it was gross stuff. So anyways, so Carlisle has the swine flu for like a week. It is nasty. It is gross. I don't see her all week long. And I went over to her house finally as she was getting better, and we were just sitting on her front porch, like opposite ends of her front porch, I'm talking, okay? We're not even near each other, all right? Because I don't want to risk it. I was on Tamiflu. I was trying to not get this in any way. I did not want swine flu. So Carlisle's dad comes home from work as we're sitting there on the front porch. And dads, you'll appreciate this, and gentlemen in the room, take note here. When you are meeting your girlfriend's father for maybe the second or third time, it is appropriate, especially if you're at his house, to stand up, go over and shake his hand and say, "It's so good to see you again, sir," right? You all shaking your head, men? You know that that's a good idea. And fathers, I'm sure you're shaking your heads. So I see Mr. White pull in the driveway. I'm going to shoot up and walk over to Mr. White and shake his hand and say, "It's real good to see him, and thanks for letting me come over." And so I go and do that and reach out my hand, and Mr. White pulls back. Mr. White's a big guy. He played Ole Miss football. He's kind of an intimidating guy. So he pulls back and goes, "No, I don't want you to touch me. I was feeling a little feverish this morning." So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm okay with this. Carlisle now chimes in, okay? This is all her fault. She chimes in and says, "Oh, Dad, it's okay. Adam's been on Tamiflu all week long, so he's fine." And so he looks me dead in the eye. He said, "Oh, I guess we can kiss then too." Turns and walks into the house. Doesn't say another word to me. And I stood there just like, that was so awkward. What am I supposed to do with that? Like, am I supposed to like follow him in and say like, "Oh no," what do you do with that? You are going to have awkward encounters and awkward connections with people if you interact with humans long enough. Fathers in the room, that is a great thing. If you can ever get in that scenario, it scared the tar out of me. We relived that story when I asked him if I could marry his daughter. Have you ever been in a situation before where it was either maybe you, or it's like that video that we saw, that maybe you just didn't fit in, like this mouse just does not fit into that car? I Googled doesn't fit in, and that was the first thing, and I was like, this is great somehow. So have you ever felt like you just didn't fit in, or maybe there was someone that was trying to be a part of your group and they just did not fit in some way? We kind of want to talk a little bit about that tonight. Our big thing that we want you to think about tonight and take home tonight is that the gospel requires us to connect with all people, even when it is a little bit awkward. Even when it's a person that might not fit in just so well, the gospel still calls us to connect with that person. We are still called to connect with all people, even when it's a mouse that doesn't fit in a tiny car. All right, so let's get into scripture a little bit. Or I'll keep talking about mice. All right, so we're in John 14. And I want to read you this beginning story, and then I'm going to break it down for you. So one Sabbath, when Jesus went to share a meal in a home with one of the leaders of the Pharisees, they were watching him closely. A man suffering from an abnormal swelling of the body was there. Jesus asked the lawyers and the Pharisees, "Does the law allow healing on the Sabbath or not?" But they said nothing. Jesus took a hold of the sick man, cured him, and then let him go. And then he said to them, "Suppose your child or an ox fell into a ditch on the Sabbath day. Wouldn't you immediately pull it out?" But they had no response. So here's pretty much what Jesus is saying in a nutshell for you. Or what's going on here. Jesus is at a dinner party on the Sabbath. So one Sunday afternoon, Jesus is at a dinner party. He's sitting there. We all know that on the Sabbath, you're not supposed to work. So Jesus is already kind of the odd man out in this story. It's Pharisees, it's legal experts. They know that he does not belong in this circle in any way. So they're kind of singling him out. So then Jesus says, "Hey, can I fix that?" And everyone just kind of looks at Jesus weird. So already Jesus is this odd man out at the party. And if that wasn't enough, Jesus is going to make himself a little more awkward. Everyone knows that it's not okay to work or heal on the Sabbath. And Jesus is like, "Hey, what if I do this?" He gets crickets. And so he says, "Hey, I'm going to fix it." No one reacts or says anything. So here is now a dinner party. You imagine you sitting around with your friends. One person shows up and you're like, "They really don't belong here." And y'all know what I'm talking about. You know that on a Friday night, wherever it is that you are, that there are some people that may walk in the room and you're like, do they know where they are right now? I don't think they realize that they don't belong here. That was what Jesus was. And not only did Jesus walk into that party, he said, "Hey, can I change the music that's going on? Can I do this? Can I change something completely about what's going on here?" Jesus makes himself even more awkward and stand like a sore thumb in this room. So we're going to continue on in John 14. So Jesus does fix the man, or heals the man. He's an awkward guy sitting there. Everyone at the room or in the room is kind of like elbowing each other. They're like looking for rocks to hide under because they feel so awkward about what has just happened. Everyone knows Jesus does not belong in this room. So then he goes on, and he's going to say more crazy things. So dinner party continues for a while. Jesus says some things. He points out what's going wrong in this dinner party. And then finally in verse 12, he says, "Then Jesus said this to the person who had invited him." So the person who had brought him to this party, he calls out and says, "Hey, when you host a lunch or dinner, don't invite your friends, your brothers and sisters, your relatives, or rich neighbors. If you do, they will invite you in return, and that will be your reward. Instead, when you give a banquet, invite the poor, crippled, lame, and blind, and you will be blessed because they can't repay you. Instead, you will be repaid when you are resurrected." So what is Jesus saying here? Very quickly, don't invite your friends. Forget those people. You benefit in some way from those people. Invite the people that no one else in no way would invite to this party. Invite those people, which is weird, right? And if you do this, you will be blessed beyond imagination. No, your friends, don't worry about your friends. Those people that no one wants to sit with or talk to, let's bring them over, and you will be better for it in the end. Jesus is still saying this in a house in which he really doesn't belong in any way, which is what Jesus did continuously. He hung out with people that no one else was going to hang out with. He invited all of those. Everyone's laughing over there and it's scaring me. I just thought I'd call it out because it'd be awkward. Mostly for you, not me. How close are these scenarios to our lives now? Like I pointed out earlier, you all have circles of friends. That's obvious. That happens. I had circles of friends when I was in high school. Lindsay did. Neal did. Neal shared earlier about his circle of friends in his youth group. We have those circles, but we can't deny either that we look out at those people sometimes. And what Jesus is saying, don't look out at those people. Go and connect with those people. Right now, Williamson County... everyone in Williamson County, yell if you're in Williamson County schools. All right. Williamson County has this really cool thing going on right now called Be Nice. Right? Y'all have heard of this? Some of you got the wristbands on. There you go. I got to meet with Dr. Looney a few weeks ago, and we talked about Be Nice. Which Be Nice is this cool thing that says, hey, don't be jerks to each other for no reason. Stop it. Be nice to each other, and maybe you could change the world. And we were talking about it this week. Neal and I have talked about it some. We think it's a really cool thing, but we want to take it even further. Because we're in a church, we can take it even further and say, more than even just being nice to each other, which goes a long way, why don't you be Jesus to each other? Why don't you invite them in? Why don't you go connect with people that you normally would not connect with? It's going to be awkward for a moment or two. But what you'll have at the end is a really great story to share at the end, like the story I got to share with my father-in-law. That was awkward as all get out at the time. But I share it from stage now, and it's great. So we really want you to remember tonight, the gospel requires us to connect with all people, even when it's awkward. And each night in this series, we want to give you some sort of challenge. Tonight's challenge is twofold. This week, we want you to talk to, connect, or befriend someone who you would not normally connect with. I bet some of you already have a person in mind. It's like, on a normal week, I would never talk to that person. Go talk to them. And number two, because we are Christians and it goes beyond just being nice, being Jesus, go invite someone to next Sunday night who needs grace. Maybe someone who doesn't have a relationship with Jesus Christ. So for next week, when we talk about awkward grace, we would love for you to have invited a friend, maybe someone that you normally wouldn't have connected with at all, to have them sitting in the seat next to you. How cool would that be if next week, all of you met one person that you normally would have never talked to, said, hey, I know this cool thing going on Sunday nights. Why don't you come join me? Why don't you come learn about this Jesus person? Because I promise you, that simple connection, that simple awkward moment of talking to them could absolutely change their life. Grab a hand, let's pray together. Loving, gracious Father, thank you for the fact that you require us to be in awkward moments. God, sometimes that is just uncomfortable in the moment, but we know that afterwards it brings glory to your kingdom. God, you call us to be connected to one another, to love one another, to love all people, not just the people like us. And God, we are so grateful for your example of Jesus Christ, who reached out to those who weren't like him and was even willing to be the awkward person in some moments. God, we pray that you would give us faith that bold to maybe be the awkward person or to reach out to the awkward person so that we may connect and build your kingdom. God, I pray for the people who will come next week, for those people that we invite already, God. I pray that you would be moving in their hearts so that you could create a great work in them. We pray all of this in your Son's precious and holy name.